Hi, this is the Philosophical Angle program, and I'm your host, Chris Angle. I'm the author of 5 books on philosophy, known as the Detmar-Haskell Dialogues, and they are The Nature of Aesthetics, The Nature of Ethics, The Nature of Truth, The Philosophical Concepts of Economics, and The Nature of the Political Left and Right. If you'd like to make contact with us and comment, give us an email at detmar.haskell@icloud.com. The purpose of the Philosophical Angle is to examine the nature and ideas and concepts that are current in media. So this week we're going to ask why the libs yelled at Vice President Vance and his family. On July 16th on talk radio, on the Clay and Buck show, I heard them talking about a phenomenon that they had a difficult time understanding. It was when the vice president took his child to an amusement park, and some of the other park participants who disagree with the Republican policies that are being put in place yelled at him, and they yelled at him and his child. They found this very difficult to believe, and when I say this, I mean Buck and Clay. Well, let's allow the philosophical angle to make comment. Here's why the libs yelled at Vice President Vance. There are 7 principles that dictate the behavior of the political left and the right. The first 2 principles are the same for both the left and right. However, at the third principle they diverge, and they become the opposite of each other. So in order to understand what's going on here at the amusement park with the progressive liberal park attendees who yelled at Vice President and his family, we need to review these principles. First principle is that all life does that which is good for it. This is the same for both the left and the right. It's also an economic truism. It's a biological truism. However, some people would say, well, suicide is an exception. Well, it may be an exception, but it's usually when pain is so bad that the individual doesn't want to face this pain and choose to escape it by suicide. Anyway, other than this possible exception, it remains pretty much true throughout biology. The second principle is that men tend to dominate, and this is from St. Augustine's principle of libido dominandi. It says that mankind wants to dominate each other. It's true, certainly for the male of the species, but it's true also for other mammals too. We see the alpha male in any group wanting to dominate because he wants to spread his genes to the next generation. He wants to do that which is good for him. So he competes and dominates the others to try to get that advantage. Humans are no different, but a little more complicated. They want to dominate each other, but the reasons may be a little more involved. So at principle number 3, they become divergent. They become the opposite. And this dictum number 3 says that a person of the right will look at another person and apparently think that the other person has some good within him. Even though the Bible tells us that we are all sinners and everybody falls short of the glory of God, nevertheless, we have some good, and this is pointed out elsewhere in the Bible, such as in Romans 6. The person of the right thinks and looks at the other person and thinks that there is some goodness within him, and searching for that goodness will allow us to cooperate and work together to produce goods and services. However, a person of the left will look at the other person and think that he is inherently bad. Because the left will look at the other person and think that he is inherently bad, it becomes very difficult to work with him. And this is understandable because the other person is bad. Of course, if he's within the group of the left, he will think that he can work for them and that he's not so bad. But if he's outside the group, that is outside his group and his place in society, he will know that the other person is bad and cannot be trusted. And this is why governments of the world move left. Thus, Democrats will look at the Republicans and think that they must resist Republicans and that they cannot really cooperate with them because all their ideas are of no good. The Republican will look at the Democrats and think, okay, there must be some good within their proposal. They will search that out and try and come to a compromise with those proposals that we can find that are good. When compromises are made, usually it's a little bit towards those of the left, and thus governments throughout the world tend to move left. It's only when somebody comes in from the right and starts to drag the government back the other way that the left goes berserk. Look at the present situation with how they went and are going berserk against President Trump and his prior and present administrations. But there's a secondary side to this incident of yelling at the Vice President and his family. Adding to what talk show hosts Buck and Clay pointed out, just doing this yelling is wrong. And they were very strong in their words and condemnation about it. And I agree. Now, we're going to find out why it's wrong and why they purposefully do a wrong action. Actually, we should say an unethical action. As the left becomes more left and progressively more left, they are easily tempted into this kind of unethical behavior. So now the big question is, why can they be induced to do this type of unethical behavior? Is it that they are prone to do it? And the answer is yes. They have a proclivity to do this type of behavior, even though it is unethical. So why is it? Well, the reason is that it fulfills the 7 dictums of the left. And when that happens, they are prone to do unethical things, as demonstrated by the last 5,000 years of kings and queens and the haves doing unethical behavior to the have-nots of society. And the have-nots such as the proletariats, the serfs, the slaves. So, first, let's review. They fulfilled dictum 1. These libs of the amusement park. Just as everybody else attempts to fulfill it. Dictum 1 is that all life does that which is good for it. Everybody wants that. Secondly, as everybody else does, they fulfill dictum 2. St. Augustine's principle of human domination. Men, as other types of animals as well, try to dominate each other. The third dictum is what we just discussed. The haves view others, such as the have-nots, as those who have no worth or are inherently bad. This is evident from history. Throughout history, the haves have all looked down upon the common man. Dictum 4. Here is the concept of noblesse oblige, that came to the forefront of thoughts of the haves after the French Revolution, and probably was instrumental in the origin of socialism. The haves should make a show of trying to support the have-nots, so they at least have shelter, food, a little bit of fun in their lives. And since the Congress of Vienna in 1815, this has become a reality dressed in the guise of socialism. The socialists purport that they should try to take care of the common man, that is, the have-nots. From this ideal of noblesse oblige, the liberal Democrats feel that they must provide for the have-nots of society through government intervention, and thus they feel they are superior and lofty in their ideals. And they probably started this whole thought of noblesse oblige because they didn't want their heads to be cut off anymore. So they thought to be kind to the lower end of society. Now to Dictum 5. Dictum 5 of the haves is the famous Lord Acton principle. Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. The liberal Democrat that encountered the Vice President and his family attempted to fulfill this dictum because they feel that they have the obligation to society to pursue correctness, or should I say, political correctness, and they're emboldened to press upon their adversary their wishes, which is to change the behavior of the Vice President to that which is commensurate with their understanding of how to operate within society. Once they become fulfilled with this conviction, it is their belief that they no longer have to cooperate with those in society who are outside of their beliefs. Once they become fulfilled and believing in their ideals and obligations to help the poor of society at any cost, they believe that they no longer have to cooperate with others in society who don't pursue these beliefs. And this brings us to the requirement of an actual definition of ethics. So, here we go. Ethics is the appropriate dispensation of respect. And these liberals, knowing in their hearts that they don't have to cooperate because their motives are pure, and it is requisite for society to fulfill them, as per Dictum 4, as noblesse oblige requires. Once they know that they don't have to cooperate with others in society, all that is left is the end justifies the means, which is what they have done here in their behavior to the Vice President. The end is converting his behavior to what they should have done in society, and to do it by any means. And thus they conclude that they don't have to be ethical in doing so. Thanks for joining me at the Philosophical Angle.